Hello everybody. How are you? I hope you're well and I hope we can provide some light entertainment for you if you're not well or if you're bored. That too. So great to have you here. Good to see you, Jonathan. Great to see that you've been able to slide into the server. Well, the channel. Arriving. Brilliant. Sorry, I'm just mentally, my brain is a little bit at the moment. I'm not quite, I do know why actually. I had to host a Zoom call that I don't normally host. I host every second week. I can't do it next week. I offered to do it this week and didn't need to swap with anybody. But the other person who would have been doing it this week was unwell and made a last minute request for me to stand in and help with that. So, which I was happy to be able to do. It's just, I wasn't quite expecting it. And so therefore my brain was a little bit, sorry, I'm jumping around all over the screen. My brain was a little bit more. Other than that, things are going well. It's getting windy up here again. Got the fire going because it's overcast, so therefore we will still have warm water tonight for showers. And hubby's been digging up the driveway, the leftover concrete chunks that, sorry, I'll explain that a bit better. Because we are living in a house that has been being built for a long time, one of the words that got out quite a while ago was that if any of the concrete contractors who were going past our house to work on other ones had leftover concrete, they could come in and just spread it on part of the loose stones, the loose metal of our driveway. Well, put it down there and we would spread it out so that it would form another bit of smooth concrete driveway. Not neat and tidy, but more useful. And so it was a very patchwork bit of concrete, our driveway in front of the house. The rest of it's just loose stones. And we're getting ready to put down some proper concrete, with reinforcing and all nicely done with trim edges and not weird patchy patterns to it and things like this. And so it's meant having to take out all the old stuff because it's in the way. And hubby got the use of this little mini digger and he's been and bang, bang, bang and lift and all sorts of stuff like this. So it's been rather noisy here up until mid-morning here, I suppose you'd say. But we're doing well. We're making progress on the house, which is pretty good considering they say builders' houses are never finished. Well, yeah, we've still got a long way to go, but we're getting there. So that's good. And how has your week been? And are you looking forward to a nice weekend? Or are you one of those people who have to work in your weekend? Which is, sorry that happens, but yeah, that does happen. It's one of those things, isn't it? Sorry, I'm just checking my other monitor because I thought there was something I was meant to do that I hadn't done. Probably is. Hopefully, if I keep looking at it, I'll remember what it was I was meant to be doing. Anyway, right. There was something else. I'm sure there was something else I was going to tell you. I am still tweaking little tiny bits and pieces of the way my stream runs. So I've still got the timer set for being able to do the headband redeems if anyone wants to use their channel points for that. If you're running low on channel points, you just have to open up your browser with me on it when I'm streaming. As long as you leave the chat section open and also make sure that you haven't got it maximized, which also closes chat. You need to have the chat available. Otherwise, it doesn't count to give you channel points. My channel points are called pages, just by the way. So Jonathan's saying, this week has dragged. Picked up a cold. Looking forward to the weekend off. Oh dear, that's horrible. I'm just getting, as you can hear, I am getting over this cold. I have not been feeling unwell for quite some time, except for ever so slightly breathless from time to time. My voice has been the worst affected, but my thinking has been rather gluggy. It's nearly back to normal, but not quite. But yeah, I hope that the cold that you have picked up is not as impacting is that. And if you have time off work because of the cold, that you really rest. Don't try to catch up on things around home. Seriously. Not a good way to recover if you put all your time into doing lots of essential work around home. If you want to get well, give yourself rest, lots of fluids, especially water, obviously. Sorry, itchy eye. And I'm just trying to get it to stop. I'm not trying to roll my eyes at you deliberately. Lots of fluids, especially water, but also lightweight nutrition. Easily digested nutrition. If you feel hungry, eat something. Make sure you do eat. Don't put it off just because you're feeling a little bit locked up with a cold. Tehi, we're thinking of swapping bedrooms, but I don't have the energy to move beds this weekend. Absolutely. Just put it off until next weekend. You'll be feeling a lot more capable, assuming that you get over most of the cold during the week. But lots of sleep too. The more sleep you can get, the better in terms of healing. And if you can, drink lemon ginger tea. If you make it fresh, that's the best. Otherwise, tea bags, Health-Rees brand or Red Seal brand, doesn't matter. Lemon ginger tea, and sweeten it with a little bit of honey, because the honey also helps. All of those things are not just for soothing, they actually help your body to work harder at fighting the bugs. So look after yourself. Yeah, don't want you being sick. Having a little bit of time off because you need it, it's okay, but not actually being crook. That's not such a good thing. Right, what else? I'm trying to think. I'm sure there were some other things I've been doing that I was going to tell you. So I've still got the headband redemption, the random one, and I've also got the one where if you want to pick a particular headband, then you pay more to do so, but you get to pick what headband I get to wear. And I've also got the countdown timer for how long I wear the headband for. Oh, there is a new one which I hinted at last time, but I didn't explain. I will just find it for you so I can tell you what it is. It's called Ramble Rocket, and it's on a bright red background. I've been modifying little icons to use for these points redemptions so that they're not just the generic round coin type thing standing on edge. So the Ramble Rocket, time to get back on track, light this 2-minute rocket and I'll end the ramble when it explodes. And so that will be, I will set up a timer that has a little skyrocket as part of the timer, one of those animated ones that we've had before, different style to the ones that I've used previously. I'm thinking that they're all okay. I've just got to check because I've got a new setup for how some of those things work. I'm just going to show them visually so I can see if they're there or not. Egg timer. Yes, that's there. And Ramble Rocket. That's what the rocket looks like. Okay. Actually, I've just realised I may need to change the way that one's laid out. Just because I think it may use... No, there's nothing extra. I thought there was. It's okay, I can put that back up there and I shall turn that off graphically for now. So we'll get there. Yes, I am still working on the emotes ideas. I think a 1, 2, 3 tips one would be great. My brain's gone blank. Snacks would be good, yeah. Drinks and snacks would be good. Something that's relevant for those. And also when I do these emotes, I'm going to be making them available on our Discord server. So you will get to see them even if you don't actually use them for whatever reasons over here. And I wrote them down. I had a note somewhere. I'm doing lots of eyebrow wriggling today because I'm trying to remember all the different things I had notes about for myself. And yes, I do write lots of these things down, but for some reason, emote suggestions, is that it? snack emote. Brain fog was one of Jonathan's suggestions. And Jev head with cartoon brain out the top. That was associated with the brain fog idea, which was also a great one. And Jonathan's asking, will you stream making the emotes? I've never thought of doing that. I could do that as a bonus stream, couldn't I? Instead of reading, or as well as doing a read stream. Oh, I never thought of that. I just do them in Photoshop. I just take a photo and trim it down and chuck some colours at it and throw some layers in for the different colours and stuff like that. But I suppose I could. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Cool. Thank you. I shall write that down as a note as well. Sorry. There you go. I've written that down in my little notepad of suggestions, and I've put it all in capitals so I see it and remember what's going on. That's a great idea. I should actually do more of that sort of stuff. Also, do we need to write that down, Nemo? That's a good idea too. I'll write that one down too. Okay, Jonathan? Actually, and I don't even need to do the typing thing on that one. I shall copy and paste for that. See, most of the other notes I've written, I've actually had to scroll back through the chat and that sort of thing to remember what they are. And then mentally, because I spend a lot of time typing, I've actually just sat there and typed, and I keep forgetting I can go copy paste. I'm great for copy paste with other things. Control C, Control V, all the way. We're getting there. I like those ideas. And another idea that we had was Past Shelf Date had suggested maybe making something with a bookworm theme. And yeah, Coleslaw was the one who said the snack emote. So I really love all those ideas. And I will put a summary of some of those things, including the ones that had already been put there, over in a Discord server. So I'm just going to put the command here for Discord in case anyone's wondering what we do, and my socials. Right, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you guys. Oh, YouTube, yeah. I forgot to do the actual link for YouTube last time. I just showed it on screen. So I will actually do a wee bit of a blurb for those who are watching over on YouTube. If you want to be part of what's going on over here when I'm live on Twitch, then the link is here. There's the link for Twitch. If you type that into your browser window, twitch.tv/jevvnz. There's always 3 V's for Jev. If you type that into your browser, go to Twitch. You can use that link just to watch when I'm live without actually needing to sign in or sign up. But if you want Twitch to tell you when I'm live, if you want to be able to chat when I am streaming, then you need to sign up to Twitch, which is a free thing that you can do. And then if you follow me on that channel, jevvnz, then Twitch will tell you when I'm live. And not only will Twitch tell you when I'm live, then you can interact with me when I'm live in the channel chat. Jonathan's just saying that he's lurking because he's on hold. That's all good. Thank you for letting me know that you're lurking. Good to see you, Colorado. Great to have you here. I'm doing well. My voice is coming back. I'm not quite so deep and husky like that before. Oh, goodness. Coleslaw's here and has redeemed area. What's all this about? I will do the redeem in just a moment, but I want to actually just get through my first intro bit and then we'll do the redeem. Just remind me if I need to, but don't do it as a second redeem, okay? So, YouTubers, You can be part of what's going on live, including the ear redeems and things like that. I have some ideas and some materials for making some more headbands, not all of them are ear ones, that I will be able to add into the mix. So that will make it lots of fun. I'm leaving this on the screen for you for a moment longer or two longer for you YouTubers. So yeah, if you want to join in on the fun, and you will see the fun and nonsense that goes on. Oh, actually, no, you won't, because I trim it off, don't I? Okay, so we have some little timers that are outside of the window frame for what you see on YouTube. At the moment, I am, when we shift to the next book, I'm looking at removing the overlay I've got and just having a coloured border, but then putting everything inside the edges so that everything gets shown over on YouTube. Yeah, they're going to see the jigsaw puzzle that they can't do anything with, but that's okay. Maybe that'll help them to be able to come over and join us on Twitch instead. I am feeling a lot better, and thank you, Colorado, for your appreciation of me doing what I do here and me having my voice, however it happens to be. Yeah, you'd at least see the image referenced. So you're going to see the timers. You'll see what they're doing if you're on YouTube when I get my new version of the setup. I love having an overlay. Technically, a lot of the other stuff that goes on screen is referred to as an overlay, but what I'm going to be doing is putting the alerts and the various bits and pieces that go on, like the jigsaw puzzle, the book cover, what the book title is and all that sort of stuff, so that they're actually in the same window as me instead of me trimming it down to remove all that extra stuff. So yeah, you'll be able to see what's referenced for what's going on. Oopsie, my chat is just... No, I don't want you to pause my chat. I want to be able to see what's going on. Sorry, I'm talking to my computer now. So I shall get this one out of the way. If you are on Twitch and are not aware of it, I have put into chat the link just a few minutes ago for YouTube. Otherwise, there's this channel here. And now I am going to do the redeem of my channel points, which are pages, for area What's Going On Here. Is that what it is? What's all this about? Area, what's all this about? Which is that I get to spin the wheel. Well, I trigger the spinning of the wheel, and randomly it will pick what headband I'm going to wear. Most of them have ears. That's why the reference is to it being ears. So let's go up here. Picker, that's the one. We shall put it up here. I shall open up the Interact tab. Yes, yay, I'm remembering the little bits and pieces. It's got a bit where I can maximize it so it fits that square for you up there, so you can see. And that's the other thing, is if I take away the frame here, I'll be able to poke at things and get my finger closer to where they are, like I'll be tickling the puzzle about now. Right, so let's click on this, because we have a redeem here of ears that Coleslaw has redeemed. I think Coleslaw is probably leading the pack for redemptions at the moment. So here we go, and it's spinning, 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 and you guys have got the sound for it. I hope it's not too loud. Red stars, that's one of the new ones. Here we go. I'll get out my earband box here. I should put a picture on it. It's just a shoebox for now. And here we go. I will put them on once I get the other timer up. The timer, not the other timer, up. They're all tangled up inside the box. There's all sorts, I'll show you, there's all sorts in here. I'm just stopping them falling out. So there's all sorts of different ears and hairbands in there. They're all ones that poke up so you can see them on the screen. I've taken out the ones that just sit flat on my head because they're kind of boring, because you can't see them. They're fine for the supermarket, but not here. And I will also move my picture slightly, and I'll remove that, put this out. No, that's not about to spin again. Just get that one out of the way and start the egg timer after I've moved my picture a little bit. Otherwise it's a bit weird, because I put this thing on and weird. I put it on and then you can't actually see what's going on. No, not that. Daft thing. Daft me. Oh, that's right. It's not in my standard overlay setup. It's actually off to the side. I've got some downloaded extra bits and pieces. Shiny side out. There you go. There's the stars. All my sparkly stars. Now I'll start my timer. There you go. That is going to run for 6 minutes while I wear this. Right. And I'll carry on with talking. So yeah, some of my timers, I've had to download a flash gadget for it so I can use it and it will actually show up. So those of you who are over on YouTube at the moment, currently we have up here a little animation of a hourglass, you know, with the sand falling through it, and then I can adjust what time I run them for and start them, and then when they finish I can stop them, and there's usually some sort of sound that goes with it. This one here does not have sound as far as I know while it's just the sand running, but when we get near to the end of the 6 minutes, then it'll probably change colour and have some sound that goes with it as well. Anyway, right, so that's what's going on with that. What else have I been doing? So, one of the things that's been going on, and is Jonathan still around? I know he's lurking at the moment, or he was lurking because he was on hold. Is Jonathan in stream at the moment? Because I just want to see if this is going to work. I'm not going to do it if he's not right here, because it would he wouldn't get to see it, you know. I have, one of the things that I have frustrations with is when I am streaming and talk, which means I'm talking to you guys or reading a book. I've just realised I've still got my hair all clipped up, haven't I? I'll get to the hair clip out of the way and let the hair do its weirdo stuff at the moment. There you go. That kind of works a little bit better. Yeah, there's a bit there that looks brown because it's been bleached a wee while ago, so I could put some bright colours in it, but the bright colours didn't work as well as we were hoping, and we needed to bleach it more. And I know a little bit more about that now because I've been watching 2 hairdressers on YouTube who talk about home hairstyling fails and all that sort of stuff. They're reaction videos. But one of them especially is very good at explaining why people have fails with some of the things that they're doing, that he's responding to. So what I was going to say was something. Where do we get up to? Oh yeah, the Ramble Rocket. If I ever start rambling about something and you want to get me back to the story, one of the redemptions you can do is the Ramble Rocket, in which case I will put that up somewhere up here, probably over here where the hourglass is. And that one has a shorter timer. That one is 2 minutes, and then the rocket explodes, and then I have to get back onto what I'm meant to be talking about. So some of the extra things I've been doing are things like, instead of that's what it was. I have difficulty with trying to type while I'm talking. And I found I can cope if what I'm typing is really, really short, but some of the other things that I do, the system that I've been using, I have to type a little bit too much to be able to keep talking. And I feel like it's a bit weird. You're watching the side of my head while I'm leaning over here going clunk, clunk, clunk on the keyboard, and there's nothing going on. So I've figured out another way of doing some of my shout outs for people who are regularly here as other streamers that I've connected with, and not having to type so much for a standard shout out, because I don't have to type their whole username for it to work, because they're shout outs that I have written up instead of being the standard Stream Elements ones. I like the Stream Elements ones because it's responsive with whatever the last thing that someone has streamed. So if you get somebody who always changes their category, whether they're reading, fun, or just chatting, or travel, or cooking, or art, or Forza, or Sims, or Among Us, or my brain is going blank when it comes to game names, Animal Crossing, or Stardew Valley. It will actually, the standard shout out one will actually show you what it will state what it is that they have most recently done. And in it, it's technically it's played. There are some modifications you can do to the standard shout out. So I've put enjoyed because a lot of the people I shout out actually are not playing games all the time. They are doing things like creating art. So therefore, putting enjoyed works for games and for other activities. Grammatically. Plays art. No, that kind of belittles someone who regularly does high quality artwork and spends hours and hours on it. They don't play art, they enjoy their art. And so it was a nice, easy way to actually modify it in the early stages. But now I want to have it so that some people that I regularly shout out, I can type just a little bit less instead of the shout out command and their name, their screen name. And some of you have some pretty long screen names. I'm telling you that now. Then I have my own version that I can actually call up the thing that I have chosen to say, which will also give people who are here a link that they can click on so that they can go and follow them. So yay, Jonathan's back. Oh, there's the timer. Hang on, I just have to find the button for that again, and that's that one there. Yay! I'll take that one off for now and put it over here because my picking wheel actually takes out the last one that we just did. And if we get everybody redeeming and we get all 10 of them, I think it is, then it will actually get less and less to pick from each time, and we will work our way through. You know how sometimes random doesn't seem very random? You choose something randomly and you end up getting the same thing half a dozen times with a few other things mixed in, but you get way more of one thing than you do of others. Well, this is so you don't get that happening. Anyway, right. So Jonathan's here. I can try it. Hang on. Here we go. There you go. See, there's Jonathan's personalised shout out. I hope I got the information correct, Jonathan. You'll need to let me know. So that's one of the things I've also been doing. We'll get a little bit better with some of the others. I'm hoping at some stage to put up a few things that show up as graphics on the screen as well. I haven't got that far with my skills. I'm just working on it. Yeah, have a read through, see if there's anything I need to tweak. I didn't put the other phrasing that you used on your channel because I was thinking that was to cover like category, like game category type thing, rather than the specific of what you do, but also trying to make it so it's not over wordy. Anyway, I'm all open to suggestions if there is need for them. And those of you who are also other regulars here who stream, I know you've got Twitch channels because otherwise you wouldn't be in the chat. You can't chat unless you actually have a Twitch sign in. If you do stream, then please let me know, because I do know that I have a lot of people who follow in chat who aren't streamers. They're part of the following and chatting community. But if you do stream, I would love to be able to shout you out. Let me know, even if it's over in the Discord server, or whisper me if we're friends somewhere. I think you probably have to make a friend request to be able to whisper me, or DM, or anything private chat like that. Or I can't remember the terminology for the two different things. They're all different. So let me know if you are a streamer, because I do know that some people who stream don't actually save their streams as VODs. And so I might look at your channel and assume that you don't actually stream, just because I don't see any videos there. And I would love to be able to give you shout outs. But if you don't stream, then I don't want you feeling all awkward because a whole lot of people come across and follow you and you feel like they're going to be disappointed because you're not doing anything. I don't want you to have that sort of pressure. So let me know. Jonathan's just saying thanks ever so much. Checking now. Perfection, you're wonderful, kind. I appreciate all you do. No problem at all. I love being able to support other people who are also doing cool things online, friends that I've made along the way. So that's all good. So yeah. I will, if you're a regular here, let me know especially over in the Discord server. I'll put that one again just because, no, that's the wrong thing. This is one of the long ones. No. If it was in front of me, it would be both hands typing. Because it's off to one side, it's single finger typing. I can't touch type with one hand, unfortunately. Right. We're carrying on. Oh, how did the donkey meeting go? The donkey meeting went really well. Now, sorry, I'm just going to allow that message. How did the donkey meeting go? It's probably because generically, donkey can be used as a derogatory term. Or there's another context it can be used. I know, I just remembered, but we're not going to get into that. So I will find you the pictures. I said I was going to, even though I haven't actually taken any new ones. I do have some on my computer and I'll find them. And I think it's worth doing. So we will get to the story. We will get to the story. But I will find these pictures. Donkeys. Hang on. I will show you. These are our donkeys, rather than just being random donkeys that are nearby. Okay? These, or anywhere. They're not just stock photos of donkeys from online. These are donkeys from our reserve. I shall just see if I have the pictures here. These, I mean, obviously I'm not going to show you all of the pictures of the donkeys just because that would be a bit much. A shame I don't have a slideshow thing for this. I've got an app for that. You know how they say. There's a widget I can add in, but I haven't up until now because generally speaking, when I have a folder on my computer with it which has stuff, it doesn't just have pictures, it has notes and other things like that as well. So I will pull up some of the donkey pictures. I'll just find the right link to get to them. And then I can pull them up one at a time and show them to you. Yeah, my voice will actually get louder eventually. So, where's a good starting place? And get it right size. And make it visible. Right, here we have the two original donkeys and two of their children. Okay, so what we have here are Tilly and Toby and Tammy and Barnabas, I think the four names are. So the first two donkeys are these ones here, Tilly and Toby, a Jack and a Jenny, and they're a very soft brown colour. But part of their family background means that every now and then they'll throw a dark brown, a chocolate brown donkey, which is this one over here. I think that was Barnabas, yes. And so these two here are our first two donkeys. And my grandmother and my mother got one of them. Actually, no, it was my mother got one of them. She was hoping to go and do little local treks with me. I was really little. Do little treks locally, maybe using panniers or a little carriage or something like that. And she wanted something that was smaller and easier to handle and more relational than a horse and also a lot cheaper. And so she came up with the idea of using a donkey. It never happened because donkeys need to be trained to... Sorry, I've got a piece of hair bothering my eyelashes. I don't know why it suddenly decided to. So you've got to train a donkey to it. You can, even when they're an adult, train a donkey to do this, something like that, but it takes a lot of time and effort. And you've got to have understood how donkeys think. And at this stage, because they were the first donkeys that we'd had, we were still learning. And then the other one, Tilly, was a rescue. I think we bought her or adopted her or something like that, but she was left in a paddock way up the back of a farm on her own Nobody ever trimmed her hooves. She hadn't been socialised. She always had, I would say now, if she was a human, she would have social anxiety. She did not get on well with a lot of people. She got on okay with the other donkeys, especially Toby, because initially it was just the two of them. But she took a lot of time getting used to being around people and having things going on around her, because she'd been left effectively abandoned up the back of this farm, was the story I heard. So this is my grandmother, and that is with one of the youngsters, and I can't remember which one. Actually, according to the notes, that's Toby, which is the first one. I don't know if it is, because I thought Toby was older than that when we got him, and looking at him, he's actually he's full grown, but he hasn't muscled out yet. So it's like a teenager where they're at their full height, but they haven't yet grown into being an adult, and he's got that look about him. If you've seen lots of donkeys, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen lots of donkeys, it's just like, huh? It's a donkey. Anyway, so this is same lady, my grandmother, with one of the new young ones. Oh, sorry, I'll just resize this so you can see it a bit better. These are the donkeys that made up the group that the earlier parentage of the ones that are in the group that we have over on the reserve. So there's my grandmother, and this is one of the new ones. This was a foal at the time. So cute, so cute. And I really do need to find some more recently taken photos that we have of some of the much more recent donkeys. Actually, I'm just wondering where those ones are. Oh, this is a cute one. Teasel, Tessa, and someone, I think. So here you go. Now, no, come back here. Thank you. Sorry, sometimes I have troubles with getting pictures to resize, and other times I have no trouble. And now my arrow's being weird. Oh, it's because it's gone back to front. There. No wonder my arrow had gone weird. So, this donkey here is, the young one is, hang on. This is Teasel, the mum, and this is Tessa. So Tessa is still around now. This is when she was very, very new. Not the same day new, but probably within the first couple of weeks. See, looks like she's got a big fluffy fringe up here. They have that when they're really young. Really, really cute. And the mum would have looked exactly the same as the other ones that you saw, where they kind of look sort of a little bit rough, fluffy, not sleek like this. The reason she looks so sleek, so not fluffy, the mum, is because this is in the middle of summer, and so she's lost her winter coat. She's been brushed. She's still got fur, but it's the short summer fur, not the longer winter fur. The colours haven't been adjusted on these. Sorry about that. But yeah, they are so cute when they're little, and they've got such long, spindly legs, and they totter around and they fall over like you see with baby giraffes and stuff like that. And their noses are so soft, like super soft velvet. I'll just see if I can find you some other ones as well. I'm trying to remember where those other ones are of the most recent donkeys. Here's one which shows a few more of the brown ones. Once again, my grandmother. So this is just this land that they had bought. They were going to make a living off the land by growing flowers and sending the flowers down to market, which was in their retirement. It was a cool idea, but it was way more work than they expected, because you had to get the flowers in market suitable boxes at the front gate ready for the guy who was going down to Auckland to take to the market before sort of like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was like really early. And you needed the flowers to be really fresh. So either you pick them the day before and you refrigerate them, which nobody realised you could do at the time, or you were out there picking them in the middle of the night. Oh, thank you, Q. I see the resemblance between you two. Yeah, this is my mother's mother. And with the glasses and with me having my hair up some of the time, especially these days with me being older, compared with what you remember yourself as looking like, yeah, definitely there's a lot more resemblance than what there used to be. Just my memory is always of her in this sort of age range, my grandmother. And she, for years, I remember her having this, her hair swept up and tucked in with the sort of, not the victory roll part of the wartime hairstyles, but the ones that were also from that era where the women were working, they'd have all their hair swept up and piled up on top of their head, but without the loose curls, where it was all held together with a comb, a series of combs, and lots of hairpins. I think this is one of the younger ones. Colour-wise, it looks like it. Yeah, these photos are so many different sizes. I usually try to get them, if I'm going to be sharing them, so that they're all a lot more similar and we don't have to rescale. Yes, this is one of the newer ones. Look at that cutie. Look at this cutie. So cute. I'll make them a little bit bigger so you can see them better. And so this is one of the ones that's got that recessive gene with the dark coming through. And our donkeys have always had the white or lighter around the eyes and the nose. That's normal with donkeys. And then the dad, who looked like this, came from another bit of land nearby, genetically not closely related. The thing is with New Zealand donkeys, if they've come from a certain area, often they're closely related and you can start to get some health issues because of inbreeding. Yeah. There's a certain number of generations you can do it for, but not too many times. You need to then bring in extra. So the dad was this sort of spotty colouring with the white and then the spots, although his spots were a bit lighter, I think. Anyway, so we've had this extra little bit of genetic colour being thrown in. And then, so this one here, this young foal here, also has spots on him. You can see on his rump there and on his shoulder and on the side of his face. I'll just see if I can get that slightly bigger for you. So, no, don't do that. No. I really have to stretch it from the right end. Come back. I've gone and flipped it, haven't I? There. So this one here, this young fella here, we still have. He lives over on the reserve. I'm pretty sure that's his mum. This one here, he lives over on the reserve. I'm saying he because all of the ones, we've got two white and spotty ones now on the reserve, and one that is white and very slight dusting of grey in it, but it's kind of a gently spread out dusting of grey. Blue Wave says, been lurking, just finished dinner. Excellent, great to have you here. I'm just talking donkeys. But the only ones that have the actual defined spots are the two boys of the ones that are currently on the reserve. The rest of them, the mums, are this more muted, soft whitish grey. And then the two boys' sister, half sisters, half siblings, is this white with a softer grey again than the mothers have got in the mix. And somewhere else I have a photo of a couple of them, the whitish ones when they're newborns, but I have to find them and I don't know where they are, so I'm really sorry about that. We'll see We'll get there. We'll get there. I'll find them next time maybe. So how about I get on with actually reading you the story? And don't forget, I've got some of those other redeems there available. If I do get off on too long a ramble about something and you want to get me back on track with reading the story and doing my intro, because I haven't done it properly yet, then you'll have to use channel points, but you can redeem your channel points with the ramble rocket, not the tangent timer. I didn't actually instigate a tangent timer because I couldn't get the timer one to work. The ramble rocket. So I will give you my intro for new visitors, hopefully to become regulars too, just because you find us a good fit for what you like doing. So hi, I'm Jev. I read old children's books, ones such as these. These ones here are ones that have been knocking around the various family homes for years. So this one here is over 100 years old. This one here is 125 years old. No, they're not in a museum. They're not even on a proper bookcase. They're just sitting on top of a pile of stuff in my house because I'm the one who's the book lover in the current generation, so they get passed on to me. I grew up reading a lot of that sort of book when I was growing up because they were the books that you could lay hands on and read whenever you felt like it, because they were there at the grandparents' house, at home, all that sort of stuff. And it's a great way to expand your mind because different people, different times, when you write, you put a little bit of yourself and the world that you live in, because it influences the way you look at the world. Even if you are writing something revolutionary, it will still come through in what you are writing. Excuse me, I just need a quick drink. And it's been my privilege to actually grow up reading such a wide range of books from different eras, different places, different nationalities. So the majority of the books I read were English, as in from the UK, United Kingdom. And in addition to that, there were books that were American and Canadian, because I have a lot of Canadian relatives, and so occasionally you get books that would be passed on because somebody was visiting, or somebody, when they had lived in Canada but now were living in New Zealand, had brought home books with them and things like that. Also Australian, because I spent my first few years in the world in Australia, and New Zealand. So English speaking, fairly broad range, not as wide as it could have been. I could have possibly had some Indian books in there, other ones from other English-speaking Commonwealth countries, etc. But generally those were the ones that I grew up reading. There were some with Indian influence, because some of the English writers had been born and had their first significant years in India. And so they would be sent back from the era that they were born in. They would be sent back to England to go to school or live with relatives while their parents carried on doing governmental jobs, or some of the English companies that were based over in India carry on working over there. It was the done thing if you're a certain sector of society to do that. You wanted your children to have an upbringing where they would go to the sort of schools that you had gone to, get the same sort of opportunities, whether they were military associated schools for the boys or girls finishing schools, anything like that. And so it was quite normal. And that was a flavour that comes out in certain books, like The Secret Garden. The main character in The Secret Garden starts off life in India. The family die and she gets shipped back to England to her closest living relative. And England is a foreign place for her. She's English technically, but England is a foreign place for her because she has never lived here. And her family were not very communicative. She was largely brought up by servants. And so therefore her view of England was dull, dreary, a strange place. And she had all these discoveries that she made along the way and personal growth. And so you get a lot of things that the author's own life story has been built into their writings, and that influences the way you see the world if you read their books. It opens up your mind and your heart to other worlds, other places, other people, other ways of being. And it's wonderful. It's part of the magic of reading that you can read these little marks on the page, whether they're digital or physical, and interpret this code that's on the page, and it will draw pictures inside your head, and you will see something of what the author was trying to share with you. And that can actually have a long-lasting impact on your life. Reading truly is a form of magic, I think. So that's the part of the why of me reading, and also it's great fun. The why of reading. I do have 3 tips if you're new here. First tip, drinks. Second tip, get drinks, get snacks, and get comfy. There you go. I've managed to get it down nice and short again. So tip number 1, get drinks. Did you hear that, Squibble? We're going for your tip now. Tip number 2 is get snacks. Squibble often forgets to go and get her snacks, even on her own stream. And tip number 3 is get comfy. So whether that's the best seat in the house, whether it's your favourite beanbag, whether it's lying on the floor underneath a woolly blanket, hiding in a blanket fort or a cushion fort, whether it's working and listening to me through your headphones or earbuds or the Bluetooth speaker on your desk, whatever way you can be involved here is all good. But if the get comfy is just a reminder that we're about chilling and relaxing and enjoying ourselves here. And if those things help you to do it, all the better. Bonus tip is it's a good idea to have pen or pencil and paper handy, because often we will get odd or old words and you might want to look them up. I may not think to put them up put up a dictionary definition for you, or the dictionary that I use may not actually have a definition for you, or you might want to look up a place or something that we discuss that it reminds you of something. Write that down, because you won't remember it when we've finished. Trust me, been there, done that. I've had to actually scroll back through a fortunately saved chat session to find emote suggestions that people have made, because I didn't write them down at the time. I'm trying to save the chats these days so I don't have to scroll back so far. Anyway, hi, just got a few things to do, then I'll be back to chill and listen. All good. No problems. Great to have you here whenever you can do it. Oh, and for those of you who are new, we do have a Link command. If you're happy for me to sing out and say hi to you by name or by initials or whatever I happen to randomly call you, apologies if that offends you. If things offend you easily, maybe this is not the best place, because, forewarning, my memory is not good. I will mispronounce things. I will forget information you have given me if you have a favoured way of being called, and all sorts of things like that. But if you're relaxed enough, it can be a lot of fun. So people who are regulars here, coleslaw, half the time gets called Q, just because when they first arrived in chat, I was in a very hyper state in my brain, and I couldn't actually stop long enough to read the way the name was written to pronounce it correctly in my head to be able to then say it properly. And I ended up just going, oh, panic, I need to say something to acknowledge this new person who's arrived. Oh, Q, I'll go with that, because there was nobody else here whose name started with Q. Sorry, coleslaw, that's actually how it really started. But it's kind of become a little bit of a nickname, and it's all good. The good thing is my name is Quinn, so Q also works. That's excellent. And these days, usually I remember that it's actually coleslaw, not Q-O-slaw or anything like that, which I haven't managed to randomly do yet, which is good. But yeah, sometimes people have a really long name, and my brain just goes before I get to the end of reading the name. And it's not a problem with your name, it's just my brain. Oh yeah, for the newbies, ADHD. and autism. So ADHD means I get, oh, shiny. What was that? Oh, there's a truck outside. I didn't notice it because of the noise of the wind. A truck arrived. It's one of the tradesmen that we know. So yeah, I've gotten cost law, like the math, costs, yeah, like sine, cosine, and tangent. Cost law, yeah. I can imagine that some people would do that. Yeah, sorry, here's my ADHD really, really, really kicking in. I'm just checking. Yeah, it is the tradesman, I think it is. He's talking to my husband, who's probably down in the workshop at the moment. So, yeah, I get distracted really easily. And also sometimes we'll follow a rabbit trail about something. I go off on tangents. We go off on rambles. And so that's why I have instituted this new redemption for those who want to use it. If you want me to get back on track with the story, if I'm partway through describing something and we go off onto something completely unrelated, there is a redemption for you using my pages currency in the channel. And it is called the Ramble Rocket. And if you redeem that, if you've got enough points to redeem it, otherwise you might have to ask somebody else if you're new here, because you won't have enough points yet. If you redeem that, then I will put it up on screen up here where the hourglass was before. I will start it, and that gives me 2 minutes to finish off the thought that I've got that I'm rambling with, and then get back to the story. Okay? So that's what the Ramble Rocket's for. Just in case you do want to do it. A lot of people seem to enjoy the rambles anyway, because we learn all sorts of things. It's lots of fun. That's the autistic side. Is I love finding out about things. So we'll go off on a ramble and find out all sorts of really cool stuff. And it's often really not present day useful, but stuff that is kind of connected to things that we may or may not have been previously aware of. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I liked this picture. That's why it's up there. That's why I chose it. The picture in the jigsaw puzzle, it says, try and find out what the name of it was again. No, I'm not trying to do the puzzle. Don't do that to me. Oh, okay, it's going to do it again because I moved the puzzle piece. Rose mailing chest on a cart, not Ross, rose mailing. So if you've done the puzzle, you'll see it. It's a wooden chest. It's sitting on the back of a cart, and it's got paintings on the side. There's a particular style of paintings, kind of a little bit like they do on the side of long, narrow boats, canal boats in England, in parts of the British Isles. That kind of style, it's a type of folk art, and it's similar to that, and it's done in, I think, Sweden and other Scandinavian countries, and it's called rose mailing, and that's what it's got on the side of it. But I was looking for a chest to do as a treasure chest for the jigsaw puzzle. So that's why I chose that one. So let's find out what other jigsaw puzzles I can give you, and then we'll get on with the next bit of reading. I shall give you this one, which we didn't do last time, just for those who want to. This is kind of slightly more Halloween themed, this next one. And I'll set it up for you. I'm going to give you 135 pieces. There's enough variance there, I think, for that. I'll get the game link, and then I shall put it in the chat. Those of you who are new here, if you just keep watching, you'll see what goes on. I then put this link into my command center. Jigsaw puzzle, not that one. Not that one, this one here. My command center is where I have all the commands. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so the link is now ready, and you can, those of you who know what you're doing, if you wish to play the puzzle, someone will type into the chat, ! and either the word jigsaw or the word puzzle, no capitals, no punctuation, no spaces, and then hit enter. as iBlueWave has just done. You will see that there. It gives you a link. You click on the link, it will open another browser window, and there you will type a name, and then you can play the puzzle. And you won't be playing it on my screen here. You'll be playing it in the other window, but we will see on the screen here what you are doing. So it shows you there that iBlueWave has just joined the puzzle. So there we go. And we're all ready to read. And I'll leave that puzzle there. So those of you who want something to do with your eyes can watch the puzzle. And those who want something to do with your hands, you might want to go and click on the link or else initiate that again. Hi Forez, great to have you here. Good to see you. Haven't seen you for ages. Forez does, I usually miss his streams because he's overseas, like well overseas. Kind of like broadly European time zones, Eastern European time, Central European time. I'm not sure which one it is. Forez, you're in Turkey, is it? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've actually spoken with you. I'm sorry. If you can let me know. He chats, he does all sorts of things, plays games, all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, you can go and follow him too. And I did Jonathan's shout out, and Squibble is busy just finishing some stuff off. I like to do people's shout outs when they're here, not when they're off busy doing something and they miss it. It's nice to be acknowledged and know that you've been acknowledged. So there you go. If you want to do the puzzle, just type in puzzle, exclamation mark puzzle or exclamation mark jigsaw, and then you can just be involved. Right, I shall get on with the reading. I just have to unlock this now. We are nearly at the end of this book, by the way. This is the second to last chapter. We only have one more chapter after this, so this means one more reading after this. Today's Friday in New Zealand. It will be Monday, that is our last reading, unless there's some emergency, which means I can't read. Sometimes I have to drive people somewhere. I will not be reading next Friday, just a warning, because I have to take my dad to a checkup that's down in the city. Otherwise, I would be here. But no, I will not be reading next Friday. And if Squibble is not here at the moment, please remind me to tell her, because she raided the other week and missed out. She raided right as I was closing stream, and it was such a shame. Anyway, I've got to answer this. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I will be back in a moment. I'll just mute my microphone. Right, and back. Sorry about that. Yeah. I never quite know, when you've got relatives that are getting a little bit older, you never quite know if it's going to be a major serious problem or if it's just they're after some information that you can access for them. And the reason you can access and they can't is usually because if they're over a certain age, they may not be that fluent on the internet or even at all. So, yeah, go to. So that time, thankfully, it was just a technical question that I was able to answer. So here we go. We have one more chapter after today's chapter. Next chapter we have is called Conclusion. No, we've got two more chapters after today's. Sorry, I was not reading Conclusion. There are two more chapters after today. Today's chapter is called Deepening Trouble, because last time we had Rollo's Grave. There you go. So that will be Monday and Wednesday. And then what would have been Friday, but it'll be the following Monday, we will be doing a new book. So if you have suggestions for public domain books, because that is the only books I read, remember, public domain, unless I have express permission from the author or the publisher. Hang on. So I read public domain books. No, sorry, I put the wrong command. Okay, that vehicle's gone now. Because they're out of copyright. And a lot of people don't see them anymore just because they're not on the library shelves. It's not anything against libraries, they just don't have the budget for it. And if something really has been forgotten by most people, it's not going to be in a modern format. It will not be in a modern hardback or paperback cover. It will be very tattered, and they don't like really old tatty books because they have to do more maintenance, and it possibly has not been put into a format that the library has paid for a copy to be able to lend it out as a digital one. It's just the way it is. I love libraries. Where you can, please use your own public libraries. Any public library you have access to, keep using it, because we want to keep them open. They have to count numbers to be able to prove that they are still in use. So even if you don't read it, if you can go and request a book from the local library, go and do so. Request it, pick it up, don't leave it, pick it up, take it home with you, and then remember to take it back. Whether you read it or not doesn't matter, just do it. Keep doing it. Keep borrowing books. Borrow books that have nice pictures in if you haven't got time to read. Ones that you can just flick through and look at the pictures. I used to do that with gardening books. But keep your public libraries open and functioning by making sure you use them. Now, speaking of which, as I said, most of the books that I read are not going to be at your public library. So what you do is you follow the link to Project Gutenberg and you download them and read them for free. You are allowed to. It is perfectly legal because they are no longer within copyright. Okay? And if you want to find a bunch of other people who read these sort of things, then online, like on Twitch, then go to Project Gutenberg. We have a Twitch team, which I'm part of. The Twitch team will show you who's currently live, and you'll also be able to go to their Twitch channels and follow them, even if they're not live, from the links that are on the team page. And also you can join our Discord server. The Discord server is great for finding out what people are doing, getting to know the different readers. And we have more readers than are in the official Twitch team, by the way. But also you'll find out about stream security and things like this, so that you learn how to make sure that you or anyone you mod for doesn't get spam botted, follow botted, hate raided, all those things. We've got one of our team members who is one of our official readers, is really good on internet security when it comes to streaming, because he wants people to still be able to stream. But you need to put the effort in. If you're a streamer, put the effort into just taking care of the bots that currently affect your stream. It will not always be lots of them. Initially, it's hard work because you're dealing with a whole lot. And then after that, the number gets less and less until somebody does a big rash of creating a whole lot of accounts. Thankfully, most of the time when that happens, Twitch gets onto it pretty quick now. Somebody had set up a system where there were millions created over the course of less than a week. And it triggered a lot of alarm bells on Twitch, but they got onto it pretty quick, and within less than a week, they blocked that hole and got rid of them. It helped that people were reporting them as well. But do your bit, look after each other's streams, encourage one another. And if you're not a streamer, it's just take it as a way that we try to look after the health and well-being, the digital property of the people around us, by making sure that you don't get your information stolen by some bot sitting in chat and stealing your screen name, or spam bots where they will put in enticing information and people click on links and then get all sorts of horrible things happening on their computer, which you don't really need nor do you want. And then the other thing that can happen is people will put some money towards subs in your channel. Or in someone's channel. They will gift some subs. Every bot that sits in your channel is eligible to receive gifted subs. Every bot that sits in your channel is taking away from the real people in your channel receiving your gifted subs. So that for me is a very, very important one for the positive health of your channel in terms of making sure that you actually do cut down on the bots. If nothing else, as a streamer, open up the, if you're looking at stream chat, everybody can know this, I don't mind. If you're looking at the stream chat panel, it's usually on the right-hand side of your screen. Up on the bar where it says stream chat, if you go further to the right, there's something that looks like two little peg people. And what it usually labels them as is something like users in chat. If you click that, it's a button. There'll be a list of purple links, and that will be all the users that are in chat that haven't hit the lurk button, probably. Excuse me. Just go select with your mouse and copy all those names in one batch. Select those by scrolling with your mouse, whatever. Right click, copy, paste it into a text file. Okay? It's that simple. Then afterwards, when you're offline, this is for those of you streaming, if you think you're too busy to do it. You don't need to check them all while you're actually live. But if you've got a record of what those names are, the way they were actually written, not what you thought they were written as, paste that into a text file, save it, and then check them when you're offline. And ban them. Ban them first before you block them. Banning them will mean that they cannot interact or do anything in chat. If they are seriously bad ones, also block them so that they can't interact with you as a streamer with whispers or anything else like that. Okay? So just look after your people. I appreciate the channels that I am a regular visitor to who actually put the effort into looking after their people, looking after their community. It's just a really wise idea to do that sort of thing. It helps to keep things good and, help good win, that sort of thing. So I shall get on with reading. We will get there. We will actually read. Sorry, just doing this housekeeping I'm just telling you about. Oh yeah. There's one other text file I usually have open when I'm streaming, just so I can paste things into it, like what I just said. I have a file that I call check, and so it's just a list of usernames that I can go and have a look at sometime. Now, because I do technically what is effectively a just chatting style of stream, rather than playing a high intensity game where I have to keep my eyes on the chat or the game all the time, it means I can tell you what I'm doing and I can actually take a moment to do things like that. I do have friends who are actually excellent at multitasking where they can play a game and do this. Most of us can't. Anyway, let's get on with the reading. So we're reading the third to last chapter today, which is called Deepening Trouble. Chapter 22 of A Terrible Tomboy by Angela Brazel. Oh, I did tell you, yeah, I told you comfort, that's right. Let me know if Squibble's back, okay? I don't think I saw it. Squibble had to go off and get something. I haven't seen that she's back. If anyone sees her back here, let me know. And then I will just do a shout out for her. Right, so we're reading A Terrible Tomboy by Angela Brazel. We are reading chapter 22, Deepening Trouble. Oh dear, there's been a few hints of trouble because of the fact that the family doesn't have a lot of money, but they've got this lovely farm that they live on with these ruins of the old abbey there as well. The web of our life is a mingled yarn, good and ill together. That's our opening stanza from some bit of poetry somewhere. As the year advanced, Mr. Vaughan found that his troubles by no means decreased. Oh yeah, the 1, 2, 3 tips. make sure you've got something to drink handy. I've always got water, just because otherwise I get a dry throat and I start coughing. And it's good for your body to stay hydrated. Snacks are great because then you can just relax and enjoy. And stories are always good when you have something yummy to eat. And I've got some plastic cheese here today. And I've also got a long black, a stovetop long black. They're good because you can still drink them when they're cold or lukewarm without them going all weird from the old cold milk. Less slurping because I haven't got the travel lid on that one today. Right, story, getting on with it. No one's redeemed that ramble rocket yet. Obviously I haven't rambled too much for you guys. Anyway, we'll get on. Oh my goodness, it's 1 hour and a quarter. Come on. You can even just say, hello, we need to get on with the story. You don't even need to do a redeem to do that. I may not see it though. Right, deepening trouble. As the year advanced, Mr. Vaughan, that's the children's father, found that his troubles by no means decreased. Mr. Norton, urged on by his solicitor, was a hard creditor. So Mr. Norton was the chap who had been talking when they were wandering around, and Peggy happened to overhear them because she was on the other side of the hedge in the field, and they were talking about how Mr. Norton had bought the mortgage off who the previous mortgage holder was. Not like what we do it like in New Zealand. It was a lot more common for private people to hold mortgages rather than just banks without the regulations. And he had some ideas in mind for what he wanted to do with the land if he could close their mortgage. So, Mr. Norton, urged on by his solicitor, boo hiss, boo hiss. What are they called? Pantomime responses when the villain comes on scene. Urged on by his solicitor, was a hard creditor and would allow neither time nor mercy with paying things back. Down with them, absolutely. And hearing that some of the neighbouring properties would probably soon be on sale, wished to settle down at Gorswin. He had taken to a fancy... words. He had taken a fancy to the place, it seemed, and hearing that some of the neighbouring properties would probably soon be on sale, so everybody's not doing well at the moment in this area, by the sound of it, wished to settle down at Gorswin and let it form the nucleus of a large new estate. Unless the whole of the mortgages could be paid up by the end of July, they're in spring now, July is summer, high summer in England. By the end of July, the property must fall into his hands. Well done on the puzzle. Well done indeed. We shall find out what this puzzle is called. That'll give me in a moment. Church graveyard near Lonstrup, Denmark. There you go. It looked suitably Halloweenish, kind of spooky and windswept. I like that tree, with the windswept tree there, and then the sun through those clouds. I shall give you another jigsaw and then I'll keep reading, okay? Don't panic. Let's give you this one. I don't think I've done this one. Right place over here. Oh, if you're new here, don't worry. Once I get reading it, we don't usually take quite so long to keep going. But if I do get too distracted, please. Yeah, I will make it a little bit bigger. There's enough variation. We'll go 132 pieces. Here you go. High contrast for your background, just to make it easier. And by the way, if you're doing the puzzle, you can actually change the background colour to one that suits you. And none of the puzzles that I share with you will actually have pieces that need rotating, because we want it to be something where you're having a bit of fun, but not too stressed about trying to make the pieces fit, because some of them are quite hard depending on the colours in them and the uniformity. So that one's now available for those who want to do it, and I'll carry on reading. I've got a thumbs up emote. I wonder if it's worth doing a thumbs down one as well. Because often with children's stories, you have the good guys and the bad guys. And it would be like a yay, cheer, and a hiss, boo, when the villain comes on, the hero and the villain, you know, like a little bit like pantomime. It's a thought. Have a think about it and put comments over in the Discord server if you're interested in that. Here we go. So unless the whole of the mortgages could be paid up by the end of July, that's all of their mortgage debt, not just the current month that's owing, okay? All of it, the whole thing being paid off, the property must fall into his hands. This is the problem with a privately held mortgage, is that the holder can dictate the terms unless it's all written down in such a way that you can fight it legally. Most people in the days of the story did not have that happening. The black cloud which had hung for so long over the abbey seemed on the verge of breaking. Mr. Vaughan had tried by every means in his power to meet his difficulties, but all the channels he had counted upon had failed him, and as he sat over his account books late into the night, blank ruin stared him in the face. This is why he, a chap who technically is a gentleman, as in he comes from a family that has a certain status within society, not by having money, but because generations of them have been landowners, and probably even employed people locally, kept them employed and so on. There were responsibilities with being landed gentry. Technically this is what he is, but he has no money, so he doesn't have a lot of people working for him, and he's actually working as the farmer himself, not just doing the paperwork in the office and skiving off and shooting when he wants and going on holidays when he wants. He hasn't got the money for that. They're managing to feed themselves, meeting their day-to-day bills, but they are not getting ahead enough to be able to pay off his mortgage. So this chap is going to actually try and profit from their situation. No wonder Mr. Vaughan is stressed. So he sat over his account books late into the night, blank ruin staring him in the face. Yeah, I've gone and lost the spot on the page, even though my eyes were on it. Right, found it. ADHD moment. There's another one. I was writing that down somewhere, wasn't I? Thumb down. ADHD. Right, carrying on. See, I use the note paper even if nobody else does. Blank ruin staring him in the face. So impossible did it seem in any way to raise so large a sum of money that he began quietly to make arrangements to realise what he could on the stock and furniture. So to realise means to sell it off, to be able to cash in on them. The stock in this situation is not stocks and bonds. That is the animals, livestock, the thing that they are making any living that they have at all from. Milking cows, selling the milk, or making cheese and selling the cheese, or making butter and selling the butter. Sheep, raising sheep, shearing the wool off them, selling the wool, or selling the sheep once you have bred some more of them as meat, or as live sheep that can be bought so that people can raise them for meat. All these sort of things. This stock, livestock, that's probably where the term came from. Livestock, animals, as opposed to not specifically livestock, bits of paper that represent ownership of a portion of a business or a property. You know, like stocks and shares. Didn't know that. Maybe that's where it comes from. Right, carrying on. Livestock. Selling off the stock, finding. He began quietly to make arrangements to realise what he could on the stock and furniture, so all the old furniture within the house, antiques, things that had been in the family for years, part of you, part of your family, selling that to enable him to make a fresh start in a fresh place. Because he's going to lose the land. He will not be paid for it. The guy will just claim it because he owns the mortgage. It would be too trying, he decided, to settle down anywhere in the neighbourhood of his old home, and it would be better for both himself and his children to seek their fortune in a new country, where his practical knowledge of farming could stand him in good stead. He had thought at first of Kansas or Nebraska, but having a friend in Australia who might help him considerably in the choice of land, he determined to give the preference to the colonies. It would be impossible to take much more than their personal belongings with them, so everything else would have to be sold on previously, before they moved. Already an auctioneer had been sent for to the Abbey to inspect the furniture and give some idea of what it might be likely to realise. It made Lillian's blood boil to see him appraising the old oak, examining the curtains and carpets, and taking notes of the pictures and books, the books on the bookshelves, the pictures on the wall, the family, there'd be family landscapes, but there would also be ancestors, portrait gallery type stuff, just part of their home. But the old oak furniture, where it referred to the old oak, sideboards, tables, chairs, cabinets, all these things. The wardrobe in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, that one was magical because it was made from it was made from wood from the tree that had grown from fruit that was brought back from when the first of the children who had travelled to Narnia had come back and had dropped some fruit out the window. It had been thrown out the window. I think the fruit had been decaying or something, and somebody had thrown it out the window, and it grew into a fruit tree. Eventually it got too old, it was cut down, the wood was used for a wardrobe. The style of the wardrobe that all of us imagine, with a mirror on the front of the door opens and it's a wooden cabinet that you can get inside and you can feel the back of. That style of cabinet was often made out of oak and used in different rooms of different bedrooms and stuff where you'd store your clothes. That sort of thing that you have in your mind, that's what this auctioneer is coming to see about selling. And they won't want to sell it for too much. They'll want a bit because they want to make some money off it. But they will probably be charging a fee plus a commission, not just commission. So yeah, Lillian's blood would be boiling to lose all this stuff that is just part of them, stuff they've always lived with. "There's grand stuff here for a sale," he said to her enthusiastically, and rubbed his hands as if he expected her to share in his joy. "There's grand stuff here for a sale," the whole villainous chap rubbing his hands. That's how she would be sensing it with him, his response. "We shall have dealers from all over the kingdom. It's not often one gets the chance of genuine antiques, which have been known to be in one family for such a length of time. I shouldn't wonder now if that Chippendale suite were to run into 3 figures. It's a very scarce pattern and much sought after. There's some china too that will attract many of the buyers and should go for a fair price." Sorry. "And the Romney portrait ought to be quite a catch." So obviously some artist called Romney, I suppose. "I think you will find that in our experienced hands the very utmost will be made of everything. Of course, we shall advertise the sale in good time and have catalogues printed and distributed in every likely quarter." "It seems quite bad enough to have to sell the things at all," said Lillian afterwards. "But to hear him talking of putting all our dear old treasures down in a catalogue made me feel absolutely ill. I can't bear to have the Romney picture go either, because it's just like Peggy. It might have been painted from her." So obviously what Peggy looks like is what somebody else in the family looks like in the past. I'm guessing it was a portrait of someone specifically in the family, unless it was bought because it reminded them of someone within the family. Good to see you. Good to see you here, Aranel. Great to have you here. Oh, yes. Oh. Aranel gets her own shout out. There you go. And also, yes, Aranel is here. Aranel is one of our Codex readers, and she's a librarian. So when you hear me boasting about the range of people and skills that we have in our Codex readers, you're most welcome, Aranel. This is why, is because we have people who do so many different things in real life, and one of Aranel's superpowers is being a librarian. I've been working, just a wee tip for you, I don't know how long you've been here and if you heard any of the previous stuff, but I've been working on doing some specific shout outs for people who I'm likely to regularly have here, so that they're a shorter bit of typing, since I don't type well with one hand while I'm trying to read. It's just, yeah, the wonders of trying to do so many things at once. Aranel has books everywhere. She'll have them, and she loves reading too. She reads them at home. She reads them on stream. She reads choose your own adventure type things that some of them are, she also reads graphic novels and romances, graphic romance, as in, like the Japanese are very good at doing them, where you'll have a romantic story, but it's done as an illustrated story. Not that it's really dodgy, but it's just done as an illustrated story. And she reads these and shows you the pictures and all this sort of stuff, as well as reading other books that are words-based books, and all sorts, and plays games. And she streams mobile. So she's reading from an old Kindle, I want to say. Might be an iPad. I can't remember. An old device. Kindle Fire, that's it. She's streaming from a Kindle Fire. So there are limitations on what she can do on stream. And it also means that the presentation of how she does things is a little bit different to someone who, like me, is on a big, heavy-duty computer. So, yeah, there's all sorts of stuff goes on. Sorry, just slightly distracted because I thought I'd dealt with something, but I don't think I have. Yeah. Right. Just what I needed to know. Yeah, I'm just going to ban a bot. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Nothing exciting. So if you are a streamer and you want to do it, and you want to ban anybody, or if you're a moderator for a streamer, if you're doing it for Twitch, it's exclamation mark and then ban. This is standard stuff that's available, standard tools, and then a space, and then you copy and paste the username, because it can look like letters, but it may be numbers, or it can look like numbers and it may be letters, capitals and smalls, things like that, like the number 1 and a capital, and a small L or a capital I can all be something that look the same. And then you paste in that username. Have I already done that? Why is that not showing as banned? Should do. No, not exclamation mark, /, and then paste. Sorry, it helps if you use the right tools. So just getting rid of a bot so that you guys are nice and safe here. and then we'll carry on. They will continue. Technically, when you've banned someone, the name will still show for a bit longer in your users in chat, but they can't actually do anything. And then on the next refresh that Twitch does, because it's every certain number of minutes, they refresh things, then that name will drop out of the server, out of the users in chat listing. Right, carry on reading. It's the Romney picture is just like Peggy. It might have been painted from her, the vision of the family portraits and the armour of her ancestors being turned over and valued by oily gentlemen of the Hebrew persuasion. Now that is, yes, it's a bit racist. Keep in mind that at this stage of their history in England, especially if you were anywhere near any main cities, a lot of businesses that were run by people who had a lot to do with money were run by Jewish people. And they initially it wasn't done as a nasty thing. It was just that there was a recognition that Jewish people were doing a lot of those businesses, often because they weren't allowed to own land. They were not allowed to have governing positions of power because they were a group of people who had been disinherited from any land of their own. Israel did not exist as a country. And so they had been shoved from country to country to country. They had been banned from actually owning property, land, having positions within local society, like within council, parliament, anything like that. And so therefore the only thing that was really left for them to do, even owning a normal business in a lot of places, because there'd be regional rules as well as national rules, what they were not allowed to. And so the only thing that was left open to them was using what they had. And if they had saved up some money, using that money wisely, investing it in something, getting some back, investing again, getting it back, building that nest egg up, then you start lending to people and making more. And so because that was a business that they were traditionally associated with, you get these racial slurs about people who were Jewish. And the reason it's used here is because, yeah, there were a bunch of them who were, the money lenders were Jewish. It's not that everyone who was Jewish was a bad person. It was just that most average people who did not have any association with the Jewish community, their only awareness of Jewish people was as money lenders. And they felt they were unfairly taken advantage of. So that's what that reference was to. So turned over and valued by oily gentlemen of the Hebrew persuasion added a double sting to the trial. It wasn't so much that they were actually Jewish, it was more that it was the type of interaction that was going on that it was associated with that she was objecting to. Bobby was still too young to fully understand everything that was taking place, but to the two girls it was a time of bitter trouble. So Lillian is in her mid to late teens and Peggy is in her early to mid teens. Bobby is just coming up to his teens, so he's nowhere near as aware. Whereas the girls are having to take more responsibility around home, so they are. It was a time of bitter trouble and humiliation to the girls. To Peggy, the mere fact that it should be Phyllis Norton, yeah, fire, Phyllis Norton, who would take her place at the Abbey, seemed as hard as anything to bear, and she knew her old home would pass to a family who would care nothing for its ancient traditions. Most people who are going to buy somewhere like that, it's not for its historic association. It's because of what they can do with the land to make more money. Yeah. And Phyllis has already demonstrated that she thinks that way herself, the way she looks down at people who don't have the same amount of money and clout within the local community. Mr. Norton had spoken freely of his plans in the neighbourhood, and it was well known that he intended to almost rebuild the house. It will look like a new thing, not an old one. pulling down the ruins and all the more early portion and turning the whole into a handsome, modern residence. Yeah, because they hadn't got through to the stage of protecting old buildings that people were living in at this stage in English history. Of romance and respect for the past, he possessed not a whit, and valued the estate for its shooting and horse-rearing capabilities. He can make money off that. You sell your shooting rights. It's not that it's a permanent thing. It's that people pay for the use of shooting on your land for a certain amount of time. Sorry, I really need to eat something. I'm getting horrible indigestion. I do actually have something more than plastic cheese here. But this is what we're going to eat because it's usually quite peaceful in your stomach. And then we'll get on with reading. And horse rearing. You can back in the day, even now actually, but it sort of runs a bit differently. You could make a lot of money off rearing horses. If you can't train them yourself, but you can breed them because you have paid for a good stallion and maybe good mares yourself to then sell the foals because they come from family lines, or providing a stud service where you had a good stallion and then people pay a large fee to have their mares serviced so that they can then breed their own high quality, which means expensive in this context, racing horses. That's what a lot of that horse breeding thing's about in this usage. All the things which we care for most will be done away with, grieved Peggy. The dear old tower pulled down, the ruins destroyed, the garden uprooted and the woods cleared away. I should not have minded so much if we could have given up the place to someone who would have kept it just as it is. It seems so hard we should be turned out when we love it so. I feel as if when we leave the Abbey there will be nothing left. Yeah, there kind of won't. It's cute. That's someone's painting of... It's a bird feeder in winter. I know that much. Snow-covered bird feeder. There you go. I'm pretty sure that one's a painting. I'm not sure. Hang on. I'll get you another puzzle. It is worthwhile because it's actually saving my stomach. No, wrong button. Cancel. I've just got to choose the right thing where I'm going to paste to, that's all. And I was choosing the wrong thing. Oh, that's the wrong... I'm still choosing the wrong thing, but a different wrong thing. This is the one I want. Oh, and in case you're wondering, that's the website I use for the puzzles, Jigsaw Explorer, which you will see the link for if you do the jigsaw puzzles anyway, because that's the site you're going to. That looks more like it. So, just under halfway through. There's enough variation in this. I'm going to go up to 135 pieces, and then I shall carry on reading. I want to actually open the other. Copy link. Control panel. And that should be saved for you. I'll just get rid of the overlay extra bits on there. Oh, you're most welcome, Aranel. Aranel's just saying thank you for the puzzles and story time. And yeah, most of my story time has a lot of chat these days. There's a lot less reading and a lot more chat just because we ramble a lot. And I've set up a new redemption for the channel points, the Ramble Rocket, in case anyone needs me to get back on track in a hurry. It'll still take 2 minutes, but it will be honoured. I will actually do it. And then rather than waiting, I'm just going to give you the link. But I'm putting it in chat so you guys can all use it. Other snack. I have got hundreds and thousands biscuits. Sorry, just looking. No, that's okay. Not that one. That one. Yeah, cool. These ones. Remember I showed you the jar of hundreds and thousands? Oh, stop. These are hundreds and thousands biscuits. These ones here, they have hundreds and thousands on them. Come on, focus. It's kind of better. That's it. Ah, nice and crisp. Hundreds and thousands, quite yummy. And then we'll carry on reading. Peggy says, I feel as if when we leave the Abbey there will be nothing left. That would be quite hard. We shall still have each other, Peggy, said Father, and while our little circle is unbroken, I think we shall be able to make a home again. That's why the family is still together. We shall be able to make a home again somewhere. It is hard to be torn up by the roots, but you must not let it spoil your young lives. At any rate, I hope my children may get on as well in the new country as they would have done in this, though an old fellow like I am may find it difficult to settle down again. It can be, if you're not used to travelling and living in other places, it can actually be quite unsettling as you get older to try and do it. If you're used to doing that sort of thing, you still already have that sense of fun and it's just part of you. You're not old, Father, said Lillian, stroking the hair, which had shown telltale streaks of grey lately among the brown. Streaks of grey, streaks of grey. Actually, my hair, the hair at the back on my head is a lot darker than the hair at the front. And I don't know quite how that works, but that's just how it is. And so he's showing it too, round his face, the grey. You're not old, Father, said Lillian, stroking the hair which had shown telltale streaks of grey lately among the brown. The more you worry, the more your hair goes grey, apparently. I feel old, my dear. After all I have gone through, it is worry, not years, which ages people. But there's life in the old dog yet, and we'll make a brave push for it in Australia. Australia. I'm looking for the word. Sorry. I need a little thing that sees where my eyes are pointing and does a flashing red arrow pointing to the word that I got up to when I got distracted. I wish Aunt Helen were here, said Peggy. She would have been such a comfort in all this trouble. Oh, no, cried Father hastily. Thank God she's out of it, at any rate. I feel it one of my blessings to know she was safely settled before this came upon us. Aunt Helen has had too much trouble in her life without taking any more upon her. She'll be grieved enough about it as it is, even out there in India with her husband to console her. In spite of all possible care, the secret of the state of affairs at the Abbey soon leaked out in the neighbourhood, causing the utmost consternation and regret, for the Vaughans were universally liked and respected. Not surprisingly, they do seem a pleasant bunch. While for Mr. Norton, nobody could find a good word. The matter was much discussed at the Bluebell Inn, where old Ephraim, having served the family for 40 years, was considered an authority on the subject, and graciously allowed himself to be treated by the assembled company while he gave voice to his opinions. So to be treated means to have somebody shout you your drink, pay for it for you. That's what shout means in that sort of context. It's not as if I holds by pride of birth, he argued, and me a radical 50 year and more. Radical in this context being sort of like, no lords and ladies, please. We don't do any of that sort of stuff. Let's just keep it, everybody on a more even keel. But he's saying something useful here. Me, a radical 50 year or more, when I were a lad, there were talk of chopping up the land and giving share and share alike to all, but they never done it. It comes up sure enough at election times, as regular as free trade or the income tax. 3 acres of land and a cow was what was promised the poor man if he give his vote to the Liberal candidate, but it weren't nothing but talk and came to naught. That was the line that those who were what later became the British Communist Party, no, the British Socialists, that was the idea that they were talking about, because there were a lot of very poor people in cities working in factories, and they were trying to do something good for them. But you need to think about how you do it too. They be mostly windbags, they candidates, observed Tom Slater, the village blacksmith, settling himself more easily in a corner of the bench by the fireside, and holding up a stalwart finger, a pretty robust, solid, hard-working, well-worn and roughened finger for the pot boy. So he's just signalling to the young chap who goes round taking orders and cleaning up. I as empty as a glass, with naught in it, replied Ephraim, shaking his head and gazing reflectively at his empty tumbler. You're most welcome, Squirrel. I've done a couple of new specific shout-outs, so I can actually write people who are regulars who come in. I can write a very short command so that I can shout out. And I was delighted to be able to do one for you too. Taking the hint, Tom ordered gin and water, hot, for 2. So obviously that's what they're going to be drinking. And gently turned the conversation back to the Vaughans. So Tom is, because he's wanting to find out a little bit more from old Ephraim, is probably supplying him with a little bit of extra drink. If there's to be property, said the old man, let them have it, says I, as is used to it, and knows what's due to other folk. There's Mr. Vaughan would always do a good turn to a poor body if it lay in his way, but this here Mr. Norton's as tight-fisted a screw as ever looked at a penny twice afore he parted with it. There is some merit to that. If someone has been raised to looking after the land well, not everybody who had land did, and being responsible with looking after the land and the people who were around about, they are good people to have in that position. But someone who has just made money and has the land because they have the money has no regard for the well-being of the countryside around and the people around. We'll carry on reading. I'll try not to rant too much, seriously. But this here Mr. Norton's as tight-fisted a screw as ever looked at a penny twice afore he parted with it. Ay, he be that, and scant honest, cried the stout miller, with a lively remembrance of sundry hard transactions with the grain distilleries, in which, to his chagrin, he had been distinctly the worst side of the bargain. Yes, the distilleries buy certain grains for use for brewing. And millers, even if they're not grinding grain to flour, will often be the ones who have the threshing equipment that separates chaff from grain. and they will often be the grain merchants locally in a small area, the ones that sell it on behalf of. So he had been distinctly the worst side of the bargain, and he had regretted that. It be the same with all they that make haste to get rich, said the miller. But they'll take their place with dives when other folk has gone to Abraham's bosom. So he's talking about whether you go to heaven or hell at judgment based on behaviour. There you go. You ain't done badly yourself, Mr. Griffiths, suggested Tom Slater. If it come to a matter of that, folks say you've a tidy sum laid by in Warford Bank. Warford's their town, remember? Earned by the sweat of my brow, Tom, said the miller, puffing away at his long churchwarden pipe. That's the long, like a clay pipe. They're not very robust. Well done on the puzzle. I think I'm going to have to make them harder. You guys are good at these puzzles. Just see if I had a thought. Would help if I could spell. When you should have 2 L's and you only put in 1. No, we've done that one. Sorry, we will get there. Okay, this'll do. Jigsaw. Here we go. A bit of variation in there. Let's go 140. Colour. Share link. I do hope you all remembered your snacks today. Right, that's ready to go. And just to prove it, it works with both versions, jigsaw or puzzle. So, earn by the sweat of my brow, Tom, said the miller, puffing away at his long churchwarden pipe. The work of my hands has been blessed and prospered. Aye, the Lord's been very good to me, and I've done him credit too. For Ebenezer Griffiths was deacon of Salem Chapel and accustomed to regard himself as the main bulwark and pillar of the religious and moral welfare of the village. There's always one, isn't there, who sees themselves as being the guarder of the moral qualities of the town or the village or the whatever. Oh, that would be hard. Sorry, I've just seen a jigsaw puzzle, which I'm not going to give you. It would be a hard one, I think. So Aaron L says, just water for me. I had a chocolate chip and walnut pumpkin cookie earlier. That sounds yum. Chocolate chip, walnut, pumpkin. I'm guessing it's the time of year. Oh, yum. I like the sound of that one. Right. I've not any grudge against them as has money, observed old Ephraim ocularly, speaking forth a bit of wisdom. But when it's used to turn them as hasn't out, out of their own, it's time them socialists had an innings and stepped in. There was Mr. Vaughan giving interest fair on them mortgages, and I've heard as the lawyer himself said as he was as safe as the bank to pay regular. And what call had Mr. Norton to buy him up and ask for the principal back when it weren't in reason as he could raise it? A case of Naboth's vineyard, sighed the miller. He coveted the land and is using foul means to get it. So Naboth's vineyard is a reference to someone who sent someone off to war so that they would be killed so that they could get the vineyard themselves. It's a biblical story, just in case you're wondering. Old Testament, very Old Testament. But Ephraim's knowledge of Scripture being limited, the allusion was lost on him. Let government take it up, says I, he declared, waxing excited and thumping his fist on the table. It'd be a sight better nor passing land bills for Ireland when no one's satisfied in the end, do what un may. Let Mr. Vaughan go up to London and put it fair afore the House of Commons, like the deputations as the newspapers tell on, and they'd listen to un and see un to his rights. Won him. Context. Tom Slater shook his head. He had little opinion of Parliament, having supported the wrong candidate at the last election and pinned his faith to purely local measures, so he doesn't think that anything political is going to make any difference. We might boycott Norton, maybe, he observed thoughtfully, and make the place too hot to hold him. Aye, Tom, that be a good notion, surely, put in little Sam Andrews the joiner. I'm not going to be able to define between these voices, by the way. There's too many different characters, and I don't remember them well enough anyway. Send him a letter with a coffin drawed at the top, or a skull and crossbones, to say as how that's what's waiting for him if he comes to Gorswin. You'll be getting into trouble, Samuel, said the miller. Norton would put the police onto your track and clap you in Warford jail. We had this discussion last time, didn't we, about jail and gaol. Clap you in Warford jail for threatening his life. But it wouldn't be me alone if we made a round robin of it, said Sam hastily, who had by no means anticipated carrying out the scheme on his own responsibility, or if I'd seen none without putting a name to un unanimous letter, they calls un, I believe. Anonymous, unanimous. Anomalous, suggested Tom Slater. Anonymous be the word, said the miller, but it's agin the law, Sam, agin the law. Nay, it's a case where the wicked do prosper. I be main sorry for Mr. Vaughan. I be, but the ways of Providence be dark and past finding out. If there was sympathy for Mr. Vaughan's trouble among the patrons of the Bluebell Inn, nearer home, it waxed both keen and practical. Yep. Take me with you, begged poor Joe, dissolving into tears at the thought of parting with the family to whom he was so much attached. I'd serve you faithful and never ask a penny of wages, but just my keep till you got settled and started. I got £8.10 laid by in the savings bank, which would go towards my passage money, and my granny would lend me the rest. I'll be glad to try my luck over the seas, and maybe it'd seem more homelike to Master Bobby and the young ladies to find a face they knew about 'em in the place where all was strangers. Warm-hearted Nancy, the housemaid, was in a perpetual tempest of regret, and assured Lillian that if she had not faithfully promised to marry Tom Higgins, she would have packed her box and insisted upon joining the party. "But we have took the farm, Miss Lillian, and bespoke 3 cows and a pig and 12 hens, and he be such a fool he'd no more know what to do with him than a babe. So I must have him, if it is for naught but the sake of the poor beasts," which certainly seemed a most convincing reason. The young man really was not up to it. Needed someone to work with him. Perhaps to David the anticipated change meant as much to anyone, for he was growing too old to seek a new master, and dreaded the inevitable time when he would be shelved from work and placed on the parish list. To the self-respecting poor, always the bitterest sting of old age. The parish list is where the people within the parish helped contribute to a fund that the church distributes to help those who are elderly and do not have a way of supporting themselves, because there was no pension back then. And in small rural areas, they actually looked after their people overall a bit better than other places like cities and big towns, where there's just people get lost in the crowd. It wasn't all wonderful. There were places where it didn't work, but when it works properly, it works very well. So he didn't want to be on the poor list. Definitely not. The parish list. The day of possible emigration for him had long gone by. He's too old for it. And his must be the harder part of remaining to watch the abbey pass into the hands of a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph, and who could not be counted upon for either kindness or charity in his dealings with the poor around him. Yes, I don't think Mr. Norton is going to be kind at all towards anyone local, especially if they're poor. As it was such an open secret, Peggy did not feel she was betraying any confidence by discussing their affairs with Archie when he came over for his brief half-term holiday. And in the seclusion of the stackyard, she poured out her troubles into his sympathetic ear. "Oh, I say, look here, you know," cried the boy, ruffling up his chestnut locks with both hands, which was a way he had when upset. "If you go off to Australia, I shall come too. I could persuade Aunt to go in a jiffy. The doctor said she'd be 1,000,000 times better in a drier climate, and we'd take the farm next to yours. Now my poor old dad's gone and my mother's married again, and the boys all trading off on their own account. I don't want to go back to Colorado, but I like colonial life, and farming would be a lot jollier than school anyway, for the fellows in my house are awful Johnnies. They can talk of nothing but games and laugh at one for a crank if one tries to make things." He's finding it hard at the boarding school. "It would be nice if you went too," said Peggy, quite brightening at the prospect, for not the least part of her trouble had been the thought of leaving her friends. "Then we'll go. Cheer up, Pegsy. You'll see it won't be so bad as you imagine. Australia's a fine place to get on in, and there'll be queer trees and flowers and kangaroos and natives and all sorts of new things to see. Of course, I know it's an awful wrench leaving the Abbey, but after all, there are other places in the world to locate in. There's no end of jolly fun going on board ship, I can tell you, and you'll have a real good time on the voyage out, and at the ports, especially with me to show you round, and when we get fixed up on our new ranches, I guess you'll allow that things are pretty first-rate." It would never be the Abbey, though. However jolly it was, I had meant to live here all my life and be buried in the transept when I die. So the transept in an old traditional church or cathedral, you have the main aisle of the church, which is the nave, and the transept is the bit that crosses it, because they're often kind of like a cross-shaped floor plan. And then the bit at the very end, the short bit, opposite the main entrance, which is often rounded, is called the apse, I think. So the transept is those two cross aisles, and those are often the areas where the landed gentry, the knights, the ladies, the lords and ladies, if they died, they would be buried under a family tombstone in one of these areas. And so it wasn't uncommon to see a slab of stone with a list of names on it and dates, and often some sort of ornamental carving as well. And they were walked over because it's the floor of the cathedral. You could walk across them, no problem at all. It wasn't considered inappropriate. And they were also ones that later on they would make them out of brass, and then people would take brass rubbings to take images of it so that they could have a copy of the information that is on the equivalent of a headstone. That's what's called brass rubbings. So that is a small windmill in a museum in Romania. Now, I chose it because the kind of part of the system works a little bit like a particular type of windmill in England. So it's got the base, which is a stone base, and then it's got like a little wooden house on top with the sails. Now, it's got pointing that way, out the back beside the deck, towards us on our right-hand side, is the tail of the windmill. And that is used, this form of windmill, you actually manually move that round to get it to make the sails face into the wind, and then it's fastened down to the ground, the tail. But the idea is that it can be moved around that centre point of the stones that are holding it up, and that idea is used in a lot of the windmills used in England for grinding grain, where you have the top part can be moved around to face the wind, and then the lower part, if it's a grain grinding mill rather than a wind pump, will actually be where because it will be a lot taller, the stone part in an English one, will be where you've got all the machinery for grinding the grain. Anyway, enough of that. Let's carry on with the story. I meant to live here all my life and be buried in the transept when I die. I have a feeling as if the Crusaders and the Elizabethan lady and gentleman on the monuments would miss us when we go away, said Peggy, relapsing into pensiveness, thoughtful but worried type of thinking. I'm just going to turn off the puzzle for now, sorry folks, because I want to it's after 5 and I'm not far from the end, so I'm sorry, you'll just have to twiddle your thumbs. Get out your kush ball. Eat your snacks. That they will miss us when we go away, said Peggy, but Archie had been brought up in a democratic country and had little sympathy for the ties of race. So England at this stage is actually democratic, but it is a lot more class-focused than America tended to see itself as, where it is the self-made man that rules. Oh, bother the ancient Crusaders and the other folk under the tombstones, said Archie. If they could get up again and chop off old Norton's head and fight anyone who laid a finger on the Abbey, they'd be of some use to you. I believe there are a pile of old Forsters lying under elaborate tombs somewhere in Northumberland. But what have they done for me? It's no use being sentimental about old times. I'll undertake there was precious little sentiment about them in those days. Didn't they come sailing over from Denmark and Normandy and all sorts of places to settle down in England, which was a new country then, just as we're thinking of going out to Australia? 500 years hence, we shall be quite ancient history ourselves, and folks can romance about our tombstones if they feel inclined. And after all, why should one's ancestors do everything for one? I guess I'd rather make my mark in the world for myself. Yeah, he's kind of very much, that's part of the whole inventions things as well type of thinking. For the boy had all the enthusiasm of a pioneer about him, added to a sturdy spirit of independence. The reality is we need them all those different ways of thinking. This was quite a new gospel to Peggy, and though she could not altogether reconcile it with her clinging love for the home of so many generations of Vaughans, It did her good in that it gave her a fresh aspect of life, for it is always wise to look at things from another person's point of view, as well as your own, and she had a great respect for Archie's opinions. In the meantime, things went on at the Abbey just as though the family were not, metaphorically speaking, sitting on the edge of a volcano. Daily duties must be done, however sore your heart may be, and the work of a farm can never be stopped for your private troubles. So Lillian reared fluffy chickens and yellow ducklings, which would probably never grace her poultry yard, and father cultivated the fields, though he might not be there to gather in the harvest. It seemed hard to Peggy to think that the trees would bud and the flowers blossom and the crops grow when they were not there to watch it all. For most of us have a kind of feeling that we are the important centre around which nature turns, instead of only mere spectators of her varying moods. And sometimes it felt so impossible that such an utter upheaval in their lives could really come to pass that she would have to shake herself to believe that it was not all a bad dream. But as she noticed the quiet preparations that went on and the added worry on father's face, she realised that it was not only too true and that every day was bringing them nearer to the terrible 25th of July when the mortgages would fall due. There was always a silver lining, however, to every cloud, and I think this trouble, hard as it was to bear, made one of the stepping stones in Peggy's character. Because remember, the book is about her, a terrible tomboy. At first she had been inclined to grumble and repine. There's a word we really need a definition for. Word, repine. Repine, to fail, to wane. There you go. She was inclined to grumble and repine and say that life was using them hardly, but something which the rector, always the family confidant, wrote to her in one of his frequent letters made her stop and think. If you are really anxious to be a help and comfort, Peggy, here is your grand opportunity. Now that the sky is so overcast at home, suppose you put your own part of the trouble quite on one side and let your bright ways make the family sunshine. One cheerful person in a sad house can work wonders, and by being specially gentle and loving just now, you can make father remember that his children are more to him than his old home. And that, after all, love is the best thing in this life and worth more than houses or lands or any goods which the world may offer. A really bright, sunny disposition, a genuine one, by the way, is as much a talent as any other of God's good gifts. So be thankful, child. You possess it, and make the best use you can of it in the Master's service. Peggy put the letter by among the treasures in her workbox. That's her sewing kit. She did not speak about it or show it to anyone, but after that not a further grumble escaped her lips. And she managed to find such a bright side to the question and talked so often and so hopefully of the future that father said she was as good as a tonic, and began to find his little daughter such a comfort to him and so different to the old thoughtless Peggy of former days that I scarcely know how he would have got through that trying time without her. And there you go, the end of the chapter and the end of today's reading. And what shall we do? Let's see if there's anyone we can go and read. Owls? Should we see if the owls are around? Hoot House live stream is live. So we're going to go and raid Hoot House live stream and go and say hi. Hang on. I'll just give you There you go. You can copy that text there and then paste it in there. It's using the standard Twitch emotes, and so you'll be able to use it over there, and it will actually work. If you are a subscriber to my channel and their channel, you'll be able to use the sub one. And we shall go over and raid Hoot House. So here we go. And thank you for being here. Thank you very much. We'll see you later. And in the meantime, happy reading. Bye. Sorry, I thought that was already done.